What is happening, wonderful people? So with Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 2 finally wrapping up last week, I thought it would be fun to rank all of the films, all of the shows in the MonsterVerse franchise from worst to best, so let's talk about it. Coming in at number 7 is Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 2, and as far as the MonsterVerse franchise goes with all the movies and shows, I really do enjoy this franchise. I really do. I've liked all of the movies I have, and Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 1 and 2, I really did enjoy, even though this franchise is not perfect. It's not at all whatsoever. But with this franchise, there are some really good highs, and there are some, low lows. There are some lows and there are some highs. And when I was writing my notes earlier today, kind of prepping to make this video, I was doing my ranking on like my Google Doc or whatever, and I was like, oh man, I don't know which one is my favorite. I don't know which one is my least favorite. And then I obviously, now since I'm doing the video, I ended up figuring out what's my favorite and what's not my favorite. And coming in at number 7 is Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 2, and I actually have my full-length review for episode 1, I believe. Episode 1, so you can find it somewhere up here. And then I have quick reviews for episode 2 through 10. Y'all can find them somewhere on the channel as well. But with Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 2, I thought it was a solid season. I thought it was a solid season. I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect though. It is my least favorite project in the MonsterVerse franchise. I like all of our characters just like in Season 1. I think Season 1 is obviously better, but I think that this show does have a very unique and distinct vibe, especially compared to Season 1, and I love all of our characters, and I like how in Season 1, they mainly focused on Godzilla, but this time around, they kind of touch on Godzilla a little bit, but they touch more on King Kong in a way. They kind of focus more on King Kong in this season. I kind of like the contrast between them focusing on him in Season 1 and him in this season. I kind of like the contrast there. And I really do like the ensemble of our characters in here, the relationships that we see on screen, and the stakes do feel high at times. That being said though, it's not as grand or big as Season 1. I felt as the season went on, as the episodes went on, the dialogue just kind of felt more stale and dull, and acting just felt very subpar at times. And while this is a Godzilla and Kong show, I understand that Monarch basically focuses on Monarch, and it basically focuses on our main characters, the human characters. I understand that, but I would have liked more Godzilla. And I hope if they do make a Season 3, I'm not sure if they will, but if they do, obviously I'm gonna watch it. I really hope that they kind of, right the wrongs, and I really hope that they just kind of up the ante a little bit more and kind of just figure out what worked in Season 1 and 2 and what didn't work and make it better. Coming in at number 6 is Monarch Legacy and Monsters Season 1. I really enjoyed Season 1. I did. I remember I actually started it a few years ago when it came out. It came out like 2023, and I didn't finish it, but earlier this year, a couple months ago, leading up to Season 2, I watched Season 1 so I could just kind of be prepared and know who the characters are. That way I'm not missing anything, and I really enjoyed Season 1. I did. Again, it's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. But again, I enjoyed it. I did. It's a lot of fun, and I really just love our characters' dynamics and chemistry and their bond and the relationships that get established in this series. And Godzilla is a looming threat in this show, and I love how it's basically a sequel to Godzilla 2014. It's really a spiritual sequel, and I really like how they did that, especially with it being a TV show. Some of the dialogue here and there is, cheesy. Some of the acting is subpar at times, but I think compared to Season 2, it definitely is better, and it does feel, compared to Season 2, more grand and bigger. It does. Coming in at number 5 is Godzilla vs. Kong, and when it comes to Godzilla vs. Kong, this was easily one of my most anticipated movies of the year it came out, and I remember that I waited for this movie to come out, and when they announced it, I was like, man, I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. I am so excited about this movie. Godzilla, Kong, two characters I've loved ever since I was little, and two of the most popular and iconic pop culture characters, movie characters in history. And I was like, I cannot wait. But there comes a time in every man's life where he has to face the movie that'll heavily disappoint him. And That's this movie. I feel like saying that I was disappointed, that it disappointed me heavily, is wrong, because I don't hate the movie. I don't hate it at all. It's not a horrible movie. It's not terrible. But I just felt disappointed. I just felt like it didn't exceed my expectations. Not all of my expectations were met. I wanted to love it more than I did. There's some things in here that work, but also there's some things that just didn't work, in my opinion. And having Godzilla and Kong fight each other before they team up down the line in the future, that's a cool type of build-up, and I love how they did that. They executed it properly, and the destruction and action set pieces in here are great, and Kong and Godzilla as characters themselves are obviously intriguing and fun, and the build-up to their fight I thought was really great as well. I love how they're unlikely allies, and I will say the story itself, it didn't quite hook me. It wasn't as strong as it should have been. They relied mainly on the main characters, their relationships and bonds with each other, and how their lives are affected, but they're not very interesting. And Brian Tyree Henry is a fun addition in here. He brings the humor, and it never really does anything over the top epic, and it never makes you sit on the edge of your seat and go, oh man, what's gonna happen next, man? What's gonna happen next? Oh man, it's just not very memorable, to say the least. And coming in at number 4 is Kong Skull Island. And with Kong Skull Island, this is an interesting and also kind of frustrating movie to talk about. On one hand, when I saw this film in theaters years ago, I remember loving it, and to this day I still enjoy it. I do. That being said though, I was watching it a while back, a couple months ago, and I didn't finish it fully then. But as I was watching it, I was like, man, this is not as good as I remember. It's still good. I still enjoy the film. I do. But it's not as good as I remember it being. The way that Kong is represented in this movie, mainly to scope and scale, he's massive, and they treat him like an actual threat. And he's big, he's mean, he's straight up terrifying. And I love the way that it's directed. It has this orange, golden, and striking type color grading and color palette. And it's beautiful to look at. They actually filmed on location, and you can tell. And the characters are more interesting this time around. And the cast ensemble in here is a straight up blast. John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly, and they're all great, and all the other actors in here are good too. And it's actually legit terrifying and unsettling at times, especially when they go where the skull crawlers live. You don't know when they're gonna strike or when they're gonna pop out next. That being said though, while I still do like the movie, when I was watching it a couple of months ago, I found the dialogue to not be very great. It's not the worst dialogue I've ever heard, but I can think of other movies with worse dialogue, but I found it to be very stale and kind of dull, unfortunately, and the acting wasn't as good as I remembered it being, and the story, I remember it being better, and it kind of had a sort of blandness to it, kind of had a sort of like dull vibe, unfortunately. Coming in at number 3 is Godzilla x Kong the New Empire, and with Godzilla x Kong the New Empire, this is by no means a perfect movie at all. It's not. I've only seen it fully once years ago, and it's straight up goofy. It is, but the characters aren't very memorable, and they are laughable at times, but this time around, you're engaged seeing these two icons and these two titans team up, and when they do, the payoff is excellent, and the new villains that we get in here are actually, this time around, pretty interesting and pretty intriguing. They're not dull, even though they don't have much screen time, even though they don't have much time to shine, and the needle drops in here are fun, and it is very self-aware. It's not afraid to dive deep into its goofy nature, and it's not afraid to be silly. It knows what type of movie it is and what type of movie it wants to be. It has a good type of self-awareness, it does. But the movie will not work for everybody. The movie's not going to work for everybody. While the goofy nature and the silliness didn't take me out of it, it might take some other people out of it. The dialogue is corny and dull at times, and every actor here does the best they can, and the actors themselves aren't they're not afraid to lean into the camp. They're not afraid to lean into the hokiness of this film, even though the acting is bad at times. And the story this time around, kind of feels self-contained, which is a good thing, and the story doesn't do anything really new, and it doesn't really reinvent the wheel or tackle any fresh or new ideas. Coming in at number 2 is Godzilla King of the Monsters, and with Godzilla King of the Monsters, this is a film that I think I've only seen once. I think I remember me and my dad went to go see it years ago in the theaters when it came out, and this movie, the movie itself is just pure Godzilla charm and Godzilla fun, and it's everything you love about the character. It shows you the size of him, it shows you how he's the king and that no one can dethrone him, and it's one that has grown on me over the years. It has, and I need to watch it again. There's some great world building in here, and there's some good lore bits in here, and it does a good job of introducing each Titan and showing each of them. The movie puts its foot down and goes, hey, this Titan is a threat. This one isn't really too big of a threat, but they're all still dangerous. They're all fighting for one major thing, to be king and to be queen. And the destruction is devastating and disastrous, and the look of Washington, D.C. during the final battle is absolutely crazy, and it shows that if the Titans were real, that's what the world could look like, and if we let them roam the earth, it's frightening. And it's directed beautifully as well. I love the contrast of colors in here and how it just pops. That being said, though, the characters are not very memorable in the slightest, unfortunately. I feel like that's kind of like a main negative in the franchise for me, and not just me, but a lot of people. It's kind of like Transformers in a way. They rely too much on the human characters and not the main non-Earth characters that we love. Millie Bobby Brown is good in here, and Kyle Chandler and Vera Farmiga they're both great as well, and there's a good family bond there, but the characters themselves individually, they're not very memorable. You don't really care about what happens to them, and I would have liked the other Titans to shine more as well. We see them a lot throughout the movie, but more time with them would have been nice. Like, Rodan is a very interesting and intriguing Titan and character, and I would have liked to learn more about him. Coming in at number 1, my favorite film, my favorite project in the MonsterVerse franchise is Godzilla 2014. And with Godzilla, this is another film, is another project in the franchise that I have not seen in a very long time, but I've always really enjoyed it. There's a lot of things that I really like about it, but the one thing that I always go back to, the one thing that I always think about when this movie is brought up is the scope and scale. How massive this movie really is, how massive Godzilla is on a scope and scale level, how terrifying he is. And I love that they made this movie kind of like a mix of Cloverfield with like a natural disaster type film, and for the tone that they were going for, it totally worked. And I love Bryan Cranston in here. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen are great in here as well, and it's mainly just the perfect film to kickstart this franchise. And what's cool is that we get snippets of Monarch laid out and peppered throughout the movie, and we as the audience didn't know this, but later on Monarch would become this gigantic corporation or piece of this world, whatever you want to call it, and the world building is fantastic. I will say though, and again, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, I need to go back and watch it. There's definitely room for the film to be better, and while it is epic and fun, the characters aren't very memorable. Since I haven't seen it in a while, I can't really remember the characters' names. That kind of tells you everything you kind of need to know. If you watch a fantastic movie and it's a movie that you haven't seen in years, but you remember the characters' names, that's because those characters got you attached to them. There was enough depth, emotion, and care there, and these characters weren't so much bland, but just not memorable. And I get that with a movie like this, the main focus is going to be the characters, but because you're so fascinated with Godzilla as a character, you only care about him, but you just want to focus on him, but that's not really the case in here, unfortunately. So that'll wrap up this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please don't subscribe, like, comment, share in this video. We just in 1K subs a while back. We're now at 1.3K, and the next big milestone is 2K and 3K after that. Beyond that as well, if you're new as well, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reaction, movie live streams, movie news, movie rankings, all that wonderful movie stuff under the movie umbrella. And let's talk in the comments down below. What's y'all's least favorite project in the MonsterVerse franchise? What's y'all's favorite? Is it Kong Skull Island? Is it Godzilla King of the Monsters? Let's talk about it down below. Keep talking movies, wonderful people. Cheers.